Heartwarming discovery. Millionaire son exposes amazing truth behind mother's sudden vision loss. Alex felt the weight of the news before he arrived home. Heart racing, the voice on the other end of the phone was choked with a combination of sorrow and urgency. His mother, the woman who had poured her heart into raising him alone, had suddenly lost her vision. At 35, Alex was a tech millionaire, yet the success that had once fueled his dreams now felt like a chain, dragging him back to the small Midwestern town he fled. In his ride back, memories clung to him like shadows. Dinners filled with laughter, the warmth of his mother's presence, her strength illuminating their modest home. They felt like fading photos in dusty frames, yet each mile closer to home brought a bittersweet nostalgia. The neighborhood was alive outside the car window, familiar faces and voices mingled with fragments of resentment. When he stepped onto the cracked pavement of his childhood street, the memories came rushing back. He spotted Mrs. Relly, the neighbor who had cheered him on from the sidelines as he chased his dreams in Silicon Valley. She glanced up from her garden, her grin brightening the fading afternoon light. Yet a cloud of sadness shadowed her smile. She had witnessed his mother's falling grace, and now their roles had shifted. His mum's friends rallied around her like a circle of warriors. They dropped off casseroles and shared inspiring stories about Laura's undying spirit. In that tight-knit community, he realized he stood out, an outsider in his own home. Conversations among the residents sprinkled hints of struggle, conversations laced with quiet desperation. Everything he had detached from felt almost foreign now. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In the days that followed, the weight of guilt settled in his stomach like a stone. He watched his mother's fragile frame as she grappled with her sudden blindness. It wasn't just the loss of her eyesight. It was the reality that she needed him, as he had neglected her for his own career. During a heart-wrenching conversation at the kitchen table, her voice quivered through the air, blending hope and hurt. "I always believed you'd come back, Alex, but now you're here, and I'm not the same." The fissures in their relationship were becoming too big to ignore. Old resentments shadowed even their tenderest moments. Could he confront that self-serving neighbor, exploiting Laura's condition? For the first time, Alex felt the pressure to do something beyond himself, to reclaim the love lost amid his ambitions. As shadows of truth unfolded, Alex was poised at the precipice of choice. It felt as if he stood before a looming storm. Would he once again retreat into his rising skyline or step forward into the messy, beautiful reality of love and sacrifice? The air was heavy with tension. His answer could change everything. With each beat of his heart, the question loomed larger. Could he truly prioritize his mother's well-being over his self-driven ambitions? The answer awaited just beyond the horizon. The sunset bled orange and pink across the sky as Alex sat at the worn kitchen table, contemplating how words felt like stones lodged in his throat. His mother, Laura, was in the other room, trying to find her way around the familiar space that had once been an embodiment of comfort and reassurance. Today, however, it felt like an alien landscape she could no longer navigate. Inside, he was torn. Memories of their laughter echoed in his mind, the storytelling, the secrets he'd shared with her under the stars. But now, every laugh felt sharper, every shared story bitter-sweet. Could he ever bridge the gap that stretched between them, deepened by years of ambition and distance? "Alex," Laura called, her voice tinged with the innate vulnerability of someone stripped of their independence. "Could you help me find my favorite mug, the blue one?" He swallowed hard, rising from his chair. "Coming, Mom." With each step, he felt a knot tightening in his chest. Just yesterday, she had asked if she'd see the garden bloom this spring, and it had pained him to tell her that sight was now a memory. He searched the cabinet and found the mug on the top shelf. He handed it to her, feeling her fingers graze his palm. It was a moment filled with unspoken fear. "Thank you, honey," she said, lifting the mug to her lips, close enough to catch the familiar scent of chamomile. I may not see with my eyes, but I can still feel your warmth. You've come back to me. Her words wrapped around his heart, both healing and heavy. I'm here, Mom, he replied, wishing he could make her believe it. It was true. He had returned physically, but emotionally, he was carrying layers of guilt and regret. Later that night, as silence settled like a blanket, the quiet became oppressive. He couldn't shake the feeling that time was slipping through his fingers like sand. Suddenly he was struck with a thought. He had all the money in the world, but what could he do that truly mattered? How could he turn his success into something that could help his mother? Maybe it was time to take action. The idea sparked like a flame, igniting something profound within. He could use his tech skills to create an app designed to assist visually impaired individuals, a way to help his mother gain some independence back despite her limitations. This was bigger than him. He spent the night sketching out ideas, fueled by adrenaline, his laptop illuminating the darkness as he turned the page of possibility. Each feature promised to enhance lives, to connect, and to empower those like his mother. As he dove deeper, a new resolve swept through him. In the warm glow of his screen, he felt the swift current of change. I can do this, he murmured, recognizing that embracing this journey was about more than just ambition. It was about love and redemption. But just as hope began to bloom in his heart, his phone buzzed, breaking the silence. It was a message from Mrs. Relly. Alex, we need to talk. It's about your mother. Something I found out. He froze, heartbeat racing. What truth awaited him? Would it change everything he'd begun to hope for? Alex's heart raced as he read Mrs. Relly's message, each word igniting a mix of dread and urgency within him. He couldn't shake the feeling that the news might shatter the fragile hope he was nurturing. What could she possibly have found that he didn't already know? Without taking a moment to breathe, he wrung his hands, pacing around the living room. Just then, Laura called from the kitchen, her voice a thread weaving through his tangled thoughts. Alex, is everything okay? He paused, swallowing hard, forcing a smile that never quite reached his eyes. Yeah, Mom, just a message from a friend. Don't keep secrets, she replied gently, her tone a reminder of the bond they used to share. He hated that she could sense his tension, but there was no time to dwell on that now. He needed answers. Maybe I should call her, he thought, pacing back to his laptop, where Mrs. Relly's contact number glinted at him like a beacon. Each ring felt like an eternity. He closed his eyes, battling the whirlwind of possibilities that clouded his mind. Hello, Mrs. Relly, he blurted when she answered. Alex, thank you for calling back so quickly, she said, the seriousness in her voice sending a chill down his spine. I've been doing some research on your mother's condition, and I stumbled upon something vital. You need to know this. It's about her vision loss. Yeah, I'm listening. He clenched his fists, willing himself to remain calm. There are various causes of sudden vision loss, many of which can be temporary. But in her case, I found a potential link that might lead to a treatable condition. Words rushed out of her mouth like air escaping a balloon, each one filling him with a blend of hope and confusion. Treatable? He echoed, unable to grasp it fully. Yes, Alex, she could regain her sight if we act quickly, but there are important steps to follow, and I think we should talk in person. Her case needs urgent attention. His mind began racing. After all the helplessness that had surrounded them, now there was a flicker of light. Okay, I'll come over. Can we do it tonight? Of course, she replied, her tone softening. It's crucial we don't wait too long. As he hung up, his heart swelled with complicated emotions, fear, hope, a cautious excitement. What if this was the way back, the lifeline they both desperately needed? He dashed back to the kitchen, where Laura was filling her mug with tea. Mum, he said, kneeling beside her, I just spoke with Mrs. Relly. There may be a treatment for you. We have to see her tonight. Laura's hands, steady at first, trembled slightly. There was a flicker of disbelief in her eyes. "A treatment," she murmured, the word catching in her throat. "Yes," he urged, the enthusiasm in his voice barely containing his longing to lift the weight hanging over them. "We need to go, Mom. It could change everything." For a moment they locked eyes, and he could see her hope flaring, just as it dimmed under a cloud of worry. What if it doesn't work?" she whispered, fear clouding her expression. He took her hands, enveloping them in his. "It's a chance, Mom, but it's a chance we should take together." Her gaze softened, and a tentative smile broke through as she nodded. "Okay. Let's go." As they made their way to the door, Alex's mind buzzed with the possibility of a different future. But just like that, his phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. His heart plunged. Who now? With apprehension gnawing at him, he looked at the screen and read, "I know about the treatment. You need to reconsider it." Could it be that something even darker was lurking beneath the surface of their so-called hope? Alex stood frozen in the doorway, the weight of the new message hanging heavily in the air. He could feel his heart thumping wildly against his ribs. The words scrolled over and over in his mind. You need to reconsider it. Who was this? And what could they possibly know? "Alex?" Laura spoke gently, pulling him back from the edge of his spiraling thoughts. "What does it say?" He hesitated, grief and dread colliding inside him. "It's a warning, but I don't know who it's from." His voice trembled, thick with confusion. A knot tightened in his stomach. It was the kind of fear that gripped him after countless worrying nights. "Why would someone warn us?" she pressed, concern etching lines across her forehead. He didn't have an answer. Focusing on the forthcoming meeting with Mrs. Relly felt more important now than ever. "It doesn't matter right now. We have to go see her. She's our best chance." Laura raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. She knew they couldn't waste any more time. They stepped outside, the chill of the night air wrapping around them, a stark contrast to the warmth brewing in his heart. The car ride was filled with silence, broken only by the soft hum of the engine. Alex could feel the tension in the air, each passing moment amplifying the stakes of their meeting with Mrs. Relly. The streets lit up with shimmering lights, casting fleeting shadows as he drove, but they did little to brighten his mood. "Do you think she really found something?" Laura asked quietly, gazing out the window at the blurred night scenery. "Yeah, I have to believe she did," Alex replied, his grip tightening on the steering wheel. He could feel the need for action pushing him forward, the fear twisting in his stomach still. As they pulled up to Mrs. Relly's house, a modest two-story with an inviting porch light glowing, a shiver slithered down his spine. They got out and walked toward the door, the crunch of gravel beneath their feet oddly loud in the stillness. He knocked, the sound echoing in the quiet night. As the door swung open, Mrs. Relly stood there, her expression serious but welcoming. "I'm glad you made it," she said, motioning them inside. They entered the cozy living room, filled with bookshelves and comforting scents. "Have a seat," she gestured. "We need to discuss something critical." Alex's mind raced. Her tone hinted at urgency, another layer to the mystery surrounding his mother's condition. He sat beside Laura, who reached for his hand, a gesture of silent support. Mrs. Relly sat across from them, glancing at some papers on the coffee table. "Alex, I have promising leads on your mother's case, but—" Her voice faltered, and Alex's heart plummeted. "But what?" he pressed. "Before we go any further, I need to warn you about a few things," she began, and the weight of her words settled like a heavy fog. Suddenly, Alex's phone buzzed again. This time, his heart sank deep into his chest. Was it more bad news? With a shaking hand, he glanced at the screen. It was another message from the same unknown number. "You don't understand what you're dealing with. Leave it alone." His pulse quickened as he locked eyes with Laura, realizing this was no longer just about treatment. It was about something far deeper, possibly dangerous. "What is happening?" he thought, fear mingling with determination. He took a breath, ready to face whatever challenge lay ahead. "Mrs. Relly, please tell us everything." As her lips parted to reveal the truth, Alex braced himself for the revelation. What secrets were buried beneath the surface of his mother's condition? Mrs. Relly leaned in closer, her brow furrowed in concern. Alex, I've been digging into your mother's past, and what I found is complicated. Her voice was steady, but he could sense the tremor behind the calm facade. Alex's breath caught in his throat. Complicated? How? Is it something we can fix? He glanced at Laura, fear rippling through him. He needed hope. He couldn't let this slip through his fingers. There are factors at play that go beyond typical medical conditions, Mrs. Relly continued, her eyes piercing through the haze of uncertainty. Your mother was involved in something, Alex. Something she never spoke about, even to those closest to her. What do you mean? Laura squeezed Alex's hand as if trying to tether him to the moment. It appears your mother had associations with a group intent on exposing certain secrets, secrets that those who want them buried would do anything to protect, Mrs. Relly said cautiously. I suspect that her sudden loss of vision isn't an accident. Alex felt a chill spread across his skin. The warning he'd just received echoed relentlessly in his mind. But why? What could she possibly have known that would put her in danger like this? Mrs. Relly took a deep breath, an uncomfortable silence stretching between them. I believe your mother stumbled onto information that could shake powerful individuals. I don't know who exactly, but someone is trying to silence her, Laura interjected, her eyes wide and filled with concern. Exactly, Mrs. Relly nodded, her expression grave. And now you are involved too. Whoever sent that message, whoever is behind this, it's clear they want you to back off. A wave of anger surged through Alex. I can't let that happen. My mother needs help, and I will do whatever it takes to make sure she gets it. He clenched his fist, determination surging. Alex, Laura said softly, a hint of fear in her voice. What if they come after us too? He looked at her, knowing the stakes were high. I won't let anything happen to you. To her. We're in this together. Mrs. Relly interrupted, her voice firm but understanding. That's commendable, but you also need to be careful. Knowledge in this case is both a weapon and a shield. You must tread lightly. Then what do we do? Alex questioned, urgency filling the room. I need to investigate further. There's a meeting happening soon with people who might know more. If you're willing to play this out, I want you both there. Her eyes were serious, but beneath the gravity, he could see a flicker of hope. Absolutely, Alex responded, feeling a spark of resolve ignite in his chest. Just tell us when. But before Mrs. Relly could respond, Alex's phone buzzed again, vibrating violently in his palm. With dread, he glanced at the screen, anticipating more chaos. Stop digging, Alex. You have no idea who you're dealing with. The message hit him like a punch. His heart raced, the fear crashing back down on him like a wave. Who is this? What do they want? He murmured, glancing between Laura and Mrs. Relly, panic pooling in his gut. Alex, Laura squeezed his hand tighter. We're not backing down, are we? No, he replied, his voice steady and resolute. We're just getting started. We'll face this together. As they sat there, surrounded by the warmth of the room and the murmur of unspoken fears, Alex could feel the stakes rising. What if uncovering the truth meant drawing attention to them, making them targets too? Though uncertainty weighed heavily on him, one thing was clear. He couldn't turn back now. There was too much at stake. Let's prepare for the meeting. I need to know what she found, whatever it takes, he declared. Mrs. Relly nodded, almost proud of their resolve, but Alex could see in her eyes that this journey would test them in ways they couldn't anticipate. What dangers lie ahead as they embarked on this treacherous path to uncover the truth? Would they be able to protect each other while peeling back the layers of the mystery surrounding his mother's condition? The air felt electric as Mrs. Relly stood to gather her things. We need to be quick, she urged, her voice urgent. This meeting could lead us to answers, but it's also a risk. Alex nodded. He felt adrenaline coursing through his veins, fueling his determination. What time is it? About 2 hours, she replied. We should decode what I've gathered and strategize a bit before we head out. Laura pulled out a notepad, her brow furrowed in concentration. Let's start with what we know. Your mum was digging into something, and it put her in harm's way. And we think that caused her blindness, Alex added. It doesn't make sense. If she knew something significant, wouldn't she have told us? Maybe she thought she could handle it. Or she wanted to protect you, Mrs. Relly suggested, her expression softening. Some people think they can shelter their family from danger by bearing the burden alone. Alex's heart sank. What if his mother had faced it all alone, thinking it was for the best? But knowing what we know now, we can't ignore this. We owe it to her to find out the truth. Exactly, Laura chimed in, her voice filled with resolve. We have to piece together everything we can. They spread out the materials Mrs. Relly had found, a haphazard collection of articles and documents that hinted at something bigger. Alex began to pore over each page, his fingers trembling slightly. Names and dates blurred together, but one phrase caught his eye. The summit. What's this? He asked, holding it up. It's a clandestine gathering, Mrs. Relly said. Members of various organizations meet to discuss matters many would prefer remained hidden. Your mother was on the fringes of that world. This summit, do you think it's connected to her vision loss? Laura asked, her voice barely above a whisper. It's possible, Mrs. Relly replied. She might have uncovered something she wasn't supposed to. A sick feeling bubbled in Alex's stomach, and now they're trying to intimidate us into stopping. Fear is a powerful weapon, Mrs. Relly warned, but you must remember, knowledge can also empower you. What if we confront whoever is behind this? Laura said, her eyes shining fiercely. Confrontation, while brave, can be reckless, Mrs. Relly cautioned. We need to tread carefully, otherwise it could backfire. Then what's our next step? Alex pressed, feeling the weight of their mission pressing down on him. We need information from the inside, Mrs. Relly said. I'll use my connections to gain access to the summit. From there, we'll find out what your mother was involved in and who's behind the threats. Okay, let's do it, Alex agreed, his pulse quickening. Meet me at the old library. I'll keep you posted on the details, Mrs. Relly instructed, gathering her things and heading towards the door as urgency enveloped them. Wait, Alex called after her. What if they're watching us? She paused, turning to look him in the eye. Then we have to be smarter than them. We'll use their fear against them. With a final nod, she slipped out, leaving Alex and Laura alone with their unease. I'm scared, Laura admitted, stepping closer to him. What if we don't like what we find? He took her hand, a warmth spreading through him as he reassured her. Whatever it is, we'll face it together, and we won't let fear hold us back. But even as he spoke, a knot twisted in his stomach. Could the truth be more dangerous than they imagined? As they walked to the door, ready to face what awaited them, the vibe shifted. The stakes seemed higher with every step. He felt an overwhelming need to protect Laura and keep pressing forward. Suddenly, his phone buzzed again. Another message. Just as he lifted it, he felt the air turn thick around him, tension coiling like a spring. What now? Laura asked, her voice laced with concern. He hesitated, fear creeping into his voice as he read aloud. You're in over your heads. Back off while you still can. Who is this? She asked, panic coloring her tone. I don't know, he replied, his heart pounding. But it looks like we're in for a fight as soon as we leave this room. In that moment, Alex realized they were deeper in than he'd ever anticipated. Whatever they discovered next, it could change everything, or it could destroy them. The weight of the threat hung in the air like a storm cloud. Alex turned off his phone, the screen dimming to darkness, but leaving his worries in sharp relief. We have to get ready, he said, the urgency of the moment sharpening his voice. Laura nodded, her hand still clasped in his. What do we do? First, we need to think of a plan. We can't let fear paralyze us, Alex replied, adrenaline pushing him forward. They retreated into the safety of his small bedroom, walls plastered with posters of their favorite bands and memories they had shared. Let's review everything we have, every loose end. They spread out the notes and papers on his bed, framing an invisible boundary around the chaos of knowledge and uncertainty. It's funny how the familiar comfort of his room felt distant now, almost unreal. Alex focused on the summit, an elusive term that seemed to promise answers but invited danger. He flipped through the papers again, his eyes scanning for something, anything that might provide clarity. What if we find out who goes there? Maybe knowing their identities could help us understand what happened to my mother. They might be more dangerous than we think, Laura warned, biting her lip. But if they're involved, we have to know. It all leads back to her. I can't shake the feeling that whoever sent that message knows about us, Alex confessed, but we can't let them intimidate us. Inside, he felt the determination grow, sharpening into a resolve he had never known before. Let's find a way to learn what's happening. We won't be easy to silence. Laura drew in a deep breath as she picked up a scrap of paper filled with notes Mrs. Relly had passed on. What about this? She said, pointing. There are names here, possible attendees. Let's revisit those, Alex replied, excitement beginning to mix with the fear. If we can get any leads on who might be there. Their eyes met, and in each other's faces, Alex found solace. They were in this together. As they worked, the clock ticked towards the meeting time with Mrs. Relly. The numbers loomed over them, counting down the moments, heightening the tension. He could feel his heart racing, bound to the rhythms of suspense. Around the room, shadows shifted as night settled in. The silence between them grew, thick and heavy with expectation. As Alex reread the scribbled notes, each name morphed into a potential threat. What if they're just sitting there, making decisions about us, about my mom? Bert, we've got a chance to turn it around, Laura said, her voice steady. Every piece we gather makes us stronger. He nodded, bolstered by her belief in them. Just then the phone rang again, shattering their moment of focus. They exchanged worried glances, hesitant to break the fragile concentration they had built. I have to answer, Alex said, picking it up with a trembling hand. Who is it? Laura whispered, catching his unease. He answered, and a voice crackled through. Alex, it's Mrs. Relly. Her tone was urgent, tense. I've got news. You need to listen carefully. They're on to us, and time is running out. Fear surged through Alex. What do you mean? Meet me at the designated spot. You can't risk being seen together for too long. It's not safe, she instructed. How are we supposed to? Just trust me. Leave now. The line went dead, leaving Alex holding the phone, staring at it, pulse racing. What did she say? Laura asked, now visibly anxious. They're watching us. He swallowed hard, dread pooling in his gut. We have to go now. As they gathered what they could, everything felt amplified. The sound of their breaths, the creak of the floorboards beneath them. Outside, the world seemed dark and uncertain, the night swallowing everything whole. Are you ready? Alex asked, glancing at Laura. Her face was set with determination, but he could see the fear flickering in her eyes beneath the surface. Ready as I'll ever be, she replied, but as they reached for the door, a voice rang out outside, authoritative and chilling. Stop right there. They froze, hearts pounding. Alex's mind raced. Had they been followed? There was no turning back now. The moment of truth was here. The command sliced through the night, freezing Alex and Laura in their tracks. Their breaths caught in their throats, an abyss of uncertainty looming before them. The door creaked slightly, betraying their presence. Who is it? Alex gasped, panic flickering in his chest. Don't move. The voice, gritty and demanding, broke through the clamor of their racing thoughts. Alex, burdened with impending dread, exchanged a quick glance with Laura, their eyes wide with unspoken questions. Fear rippled through him. He had only ever seen the world of danger through movies or novels. This felt visceral, real, and far too close for comfort. Slowly, they turned their heads toward the window. Outside, the silhouette of a figure stood against the silver light of the moon. The outline was stocky, an authority figure, perhaps security or worse, someone even more dangerous on their trail. We can't go out that way, Laura whispered, her voice trembling. What should we do? Alex's mind raced. We need another exit. He motioned for her to follow as he backed away from the door. Just as they turned to retrace their steps, a loud crash split the silence. The door buckled as the figure forced it open, adrenaline surging through Alex like fire. "Get back!" he shouted, urgency breaking his calm. Laura grabbed his arm. "It's too late!" In that moment, they dashed toward the window, hearts pounding in unison like a war drum. The figure burst into the room, but Alex was already halfway outside, climbing through the opening. He reached for Laura, pulling her after him just in time. They tumbled onto the soft grass below, breathless and scrambling back to their feet. The cold air hit them, but there was no time to appreciate the reprieve. Shadows danced behind them as the voice they'd heard inside shouted for backup. They had to run, and fast. "Which way?" Laura gasped, glancing around. "Toward the trees," Alex said, his voice steady despite the chaos swirling in his chest. "We can hide there." They darted toward the edge of the yard, forcing their legs to move faster than fear, adrenaline lacing through their veins. The tall trees loomed in the distance like sentinels, and as they reached the cover of branches, they huddled behind a thick trunk, gasping for air. "Did they see us?" Laura whispered, peering out. With shallow breaths, Alex shook his head. "I don't know. We need to think about what to do next." His heart still raced, thoughts flitting about like leaves in the wind. How did Mrs. Relly know? How had they found out? What danger lurked around the corner? A small voice broke through his whirlwind of thoughts. "Alex, what if we tell someone? Maybe the police?" "No," Alex interjected sharply. "They might be involved too. We can't trust anyone right now. We have to find Mrs. Relly." Laura nodded, although doubt shadowed her features. "But what if she's just a part of this all? What if she's putting us in danger?" His heart sank at her words, but he knew they had no choice. Trust was a luxury they couldn't afford, but they had to continue pushing forward through the uncertainty. "We have to believe in her. She has the knowledge we need." The murmur of anger echoed from the direction of the house, and Alex felt a shiver down his spine. They needed to move. "What's the plan?" she pressed as they crouched behind the tree. "We go to the meeting spot. We have to do this," he declared. They moved quietly, adrenaline guiding their steps, weaving through shadows, hearts aligned in their pursuit. But with every step they took, the weight of their choice pressed down upon them. Would they find answers, or simply lead their pursuers to another unsettling revelation? They reached a clearing, suddenly doubting if this was the right direction. In the distance, footsteps echoed ominously, drawing closer. "Alex?" Laura's voice shook, fear seeping through. "I know." Before they could process the moment, a figure stepped into view before them, cloaked and masked. The world stopped. "Did you really think you could get away?" the figure sneered. They were trapped. And as the realization struck, Alex took a deep breath, preparing to fight for their future. Would they stand together against this new threat, or was it already too late? Alex's heart hammered in his chest as he faced the cloaked figure. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but the way the figure loomed sent icy tendrils of fear creeping up his spine. He couldn't let Laura see him falter now, not when everything was at stake. "Who are you?" he demanded, forcing his voice to stay steady. The words felt hollow, reverberating in the silence that followed. The figure laughed softly, a sound that sent chills racing through the night air. "You really have no idea, do you?" they taunted, stepping closer, the moonlight glinting off their mask. Just leave us alone." Laura's voice trembled, but she stood her ground, clutching Alex's arm, as though she were anchoring a ship in turbulent seas. The figure tilted its head, as if considering them both. "You should have listened, kids. Curiosity can get you into trouble." With that, they lunged forward. Alex's reflexes kicked in. He shoved Laura behind him and instinctively charged at their assailant. A brief tussle ensued, his fists pounding against the figure's jacket. For a fleeting moment it felt like he could turn the tide, but the stranger was stronger than they appeared, easily sidestepping him, landing a punch to his stomach that knocked the wind out of him. Staggering back, Alex gasped for breath, panic and anger churning inside him. "Laura, run!" he shouted, forcing himself to look into her wide eyes. She hesitated for just a heartbeat, but that was all it took. "Go!" he yelled again, and as she bolted toward the soldiers of trees behind them, Another blow sent Alex sprawling to the ground. "Do you really think she can escape?" The masked figure sneered, looming over him now, their shadow casting a dark vortex that threatened to swallow him whole. Panic coursed through him, heavy and suffocating. He had to get up. He had to reach Laura. With a surge of determination, Alex rolled onto his knees and pushed up, but he felt a sharp grip on his shoulder, pulling him back down. "Where do you think you're going?" the figure hissed, eyes narrowing behind the mask. "Let him go!" Laura screamed from a distance. She darted toward them, but there was nowhere to run to now. Suddenly Alex realized they had cornered themselves against a wall of trees, their sanctuary turned trap. Then from the shadows of the clearing, someone else emerged. A woman with a fierce gaze, her silhouette authoritative. "Let him go," she commanded, her voice resonating powerfully, cutting through the night air. The cloaked figure whirled around, momentarily distracted. Alex seized the opportunity. He lunged forward, knocking them off balance. "Come on!" he gasped, pulling Laura by the hand. She didn't hesitate this time, and they dashed past the fallen figure. The moment felt monumental. They were moving, but doubt gnawed at them. Were they truly safe? As they sprinted deeper into the forest, branches clawed at their skin, but they barely noticed. Freedom was within reach until that unfamiliar woman caught up with them. She stood firm, planting herself like a guardian on their path. A heartbeat passed, where the weight of fear hung heavy again. "Who are you?" Alex managed to breathe, desperation creeping into his voice. "I'm not here to hurt you," she said, holding up her hands. "I want to help." But the woods behind them echoed with sounds of pursuit. Tires screeched in the distance. The voice of the masked figure rang out, panic chasing them. "Don't let them get away!" Light flickered behind them, and for a split second uncertainty threatened to bind them again. Could they trust this new ally? And did trust even matter now? "Listen, you need to follow me if you want to survive," the woman urged, eyes flickering with urgency. Could they take that leap of faith? Or would it lead them deeper into danger? With a final glance back into the dark forest they'd fled, Alex took Laura's hand tighter. "We have no choice," he urged. "Let's go." As they plunged ahead into the darkness, the thrill of uncertainty clashed with a whisper of hope. What awaited them just beyond the trees? Was this woman their savior, or another trap? The night felt alive with possibilities, but only one thing was certain: they were no longer alone in this fight. As they darted deeper into the forest, fear and adrenaline spurred Alex and Laura forward. The shadows danced around them, but the fierce urgency in the woman's voice made it clear. They needed to trust her. The woman led them quickly, her movements fluid as she navigated the thick underbrush. "This way," she urged, glancing back to ensure they were keeping pace. Just ahead, the sound of the engine roars and stumbling footsteps grew louder, a constant reminder of the danger they were fleeing. They emerged into a small clearing, moonlight spilling onto the ground. "Who are you?" Alex gasped, breathless yet on high alert. He could feel Laura's fear radiating beside him. "I'm Linda, a friend of your mother's," she replied, urgency filling her tone. "There's a lot you both don't know, but what matters now is that you listen to me. Your mother has been caught up in something dangerous, but we can fix it. You have to believe that." Alex's heart raced. His mother had always been the anchor in his life. Could Linda's presence be the lifeline they needed? "Fix what?" Laura asked, her voice steadying, searching Linda's eyes for truth. "What exactly is going on?" Linda analyzed the horizon, gauging the proximity of danger. "Your mother stumbled upon something bigger than you can imagine. It involves corrupt figures at that summit, people who will do anything to keep their secrets hidden, and now they're targeting you too." Alex felt anger boiling inside him. "But we're trying to help her. We have to get her treatment." "Yes, and we will," Linda reassured, determination sparking in her gaze. "But first I need you both to understand that it won't be simple. These people, they don't play fair. They'll do whatever it takes to silence anyone who threatens their cover. You're already in their crosshairs." As he contemplated her words, something inside clicked. They had to fortify their resolve, take charge of their own narrative. "Then teach us," he said, voice steady now with conviction. "We're not turning back. We will protect my mother. Linda nodded, the flicker of pride gleaming in her eyes. You're braver than you realize, but we need to act fast. They won't rest until they have what they want. In that moment, the darkness around them felt less threatening. They were a team. They had purpose. Let's go. We need to get to your mother right away, Linda urged, her voice cutting like a whip through the tension in the air. The trio sprinted toward the nearest town, hearts pounding in rhythm as they plotted their next move. Arriving at a safe house, a humble, weather-worn cabin hidden away from prying eyes, an invigorating wave of relief washed over them. The world outside felt cold, but inside it was alive with flickering hope. First, Linda said, panting as she closed the door behind them, we regroup. You both need information on the summit and people we can trust. For now, the most critical thing is to ensure your mother's safety. Alex summoned his laptop, adrenaline still coursing through him. Let's find everything we can. They scoured the web for any ties to the events surrounding the summit, discovering connections to powerful individuals entangled in corruption that stretched back years. This is all connected, Laura murmured, her face pale as she read through their findings. These people, they've hurt so many. We need proof, Alex replied, determination surging anew. This could be how we expose them. The more information we have, the safer Mom will be. Once we gather evidence, we can take it to the authorities, Linda agreed. But remember, we have to exercise caution. They'll know you're close. With renewed focus, they dove into their research, a palpable energy filling the room. As they worked, hours melted into one another, tension morphing into purpose, unlocking a deeper bond among them. Suddenly, a text pinged on Alex's phone. It was from Mrs. Relly. I know where your mother is. We need to meet. Now. It's urgent. An electric thrill pulsed through him. They might finally be able to bring her home. We found a lead. Mrs. Relly has information about my mom. Let's go, Laura said, eyes glimmering with anticipation. As they stormed out of the cabin, the weight of uncertainty still hung overhead, but it no longer felt suffocating. They were armed with knowledge and a sense of mission. Arriving at the designated spot, an old diner at the edge of town, anxiety surged. Would Mrs. Relly have good news? Were they really ready to confront whatever lay ahead? Inside, under the dim glow of fluorescent lights, Mrs. Relly sat at a booth, her eyes scanning the room with cautious understanding. You made it. I was worried. Do you know how we can help my mum? Alex asked, urgency filling the air, a desperate hope pushing through the tension. Yes, she replied, her voice steady, and it's going to take all of you. Your mom put herself in danger to protect you, but she needs all of us to stand together now. Then let's fight, Laura said, passion rising in her words. Whatever it takes. Mrs. Relly smiled, a faltering strength shining through. She slid a folder across the table. Here's everything I could uncover. Use it wisely. As Alex grabbed the folder, they all shared glances, eyes filled with determination, a shared understanding. This was it. They were about to reclaim not just Laura's vision, but the truth hidden beneath the shadows threatening to consume them. With new resolve, they left the diner behind, stepping out into the wild unknown. They were not just fighting for Laura anymore, but for the love, the truth, and a chance at freedom, a future where the past couldn't dictate their lives. Together, Alex murmured, locking eyes with Laura, tightly holding their shared strength. No turning back. Together they would rise against their tumultuous fate, and as night crept toward dawn, they stepped into the light of possibility, ready to reclaim what was rightfully theirs. If you felt the rush of this journey, subscribe immediately to stay updated with the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help our community grow. Comment your reactions and feelings about how Alex and Laura fought for their family. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformational fight for truth and love. You need to support the channel. True fans know that every action matters.